Hi, I'm Rishi and it's great to be with Good Housekeeping, taking your questions. But I want to be honest with you, we haven't made as much progress as I would have liked in tackling waiting lists. I know people are frustrated with me, with my party. It's been a tough few years. I've been given a lot of umbrellas on this campaign train, I can tell you that. Deborah, it's been a really tough few years for everyone. COVID, the war in Ukraine, driving up energy bills, inflation being high, that's what's causing all the increase in your weekly shop that you talked about. That's why my priority when I became your Prime Minister 18 months ago was to bring inflation down. And we got it down from 11% back to target at 2%. So you'll start to see the benefit of that in your weekly shops. Prices not going up like they have been over the past year or two. Energy bills are now coming down. And it's because of those things that we can now start cutting your taxes. This year, for a typical person in work, you're getting a tax cut worth £900. And if I continue as your Prime Minister, I want to keep cutting your taxes and everyone's taxes to make everything that you described a bit easier. I know everyone's working really hard, and I want you to be able to keep more of your hard-earned money. That gives you financial security and allows you to spend on the things that you want to for your family, and that's the type of country I believe in. I come from an NHS family. You might know my dad was a GP, my mum was a pharmacist. I worked for my mum many years growing up. And so I was raised surrounded by people who dedicated their lives to the NHS, to helping their patients. And that left a lasting impression on me. And that's how I approach this job. That's why we're investing record sums in the NHS, hiring more doctors and nurses. But I want to be honest with you, we haven't made as much progress as I would have liked in tackling waiting lists. And that's something that I regret. But now our plans are working. Over the last few months, waiting lists are starting to come down. And if we stay the course and I remain as your Prime Minister, we will continue to make progress. It's been a really difficult few years. To tell you one fact, during the pandemic, 6 million referrals didn't happen. Think about that for a second, 6 million referrals. And obviously we're now catching up with that, and that's what's having an impact. But we are making progress, as I said. Waiting lists are now starting to come down. And in me, you've got someone that, because of how I was raised and my family, you can always trust with the NHS. It's safe in my hands. We'll put more money into it every year of the next Parliament, and it will be there. You should have the peace of mind that it's there for you and your family. So the level of discharge we've seen into our rivers has been completely unacceptable. First thing to say is the main reason we know about this is because over the past several years, what the Conservative government has done is ensure that we're now monitoring all the overflows. Because when we came into office, we inherited a situation from Labour where we didn't even know what was going on. So now we do, and we can tackle it. So we've set the water companies very strict targets. We've given the regulator powers to levy fines on the water companies, unlimited penalties when they don't perform at the standards that we all expect of them. And we've made sure that bonus payments and dividend payments have to be linked to their environmental performance. That's strong action that will make a big difference to ensure that we all have the outcomes we want. Some of the things that we've seen over the past few weeks that you would have heard about angered me as well. I was furious when I learned of the allegations around gambling. You know, the thought that people would break the rules is the opposite of what public service means to me, and that's why I took action. We initiated internal inquiries of our own, and as a result of those, have suspended 2 candidates. And I've been crystal clear that anyone who breaks the rules should face the full force of the law, and I will boot them out of the Conservative Party. But more generally, I think you actually have trust in politics when politicians are straight with you about what they're going to do. And that's what I'm about. I'm someone who doesn't change my mind like Keir Starmer on every topic. I'm upfront with you about what I'm going to do. I have the courage of my convictions. And I appreciate, actually, that not all of you watching will agree with everything that I say. But at least you know what I stand for and what I'm going to do. Julie, I completely agree with you. The levels of immigration that we've seen are far too high. Since I've been Prime Minister 18 months ago, what you've seen is that levels are coming down. This year, for example, we reduced the number of visas issued by 30%, and migration is forecast to halve over the next 12 months because of the things that I've done. And I want to go further and introduce a legal cap on migration, guaranteeing that the numbers fall every year. That cap will be voted on every year in Parliament. Now, when it comes to illegal migration, I think that's wrong. As you said, people jumping the queue and coming to our country illegally isn't fair. It undermines the notion of fairness that is so central to our national character, puts pressure on public services, hotels, as you mentioned, costing a fortune, and is a threat to our security. And that's why I've got a plan to deal with it. Now, we have made progress. The numbers over the last 12 months are down on the previous year. But in order to fully solve this problem, we need to make it clear, if you come to our country illegally, you shouldn't get to be able to stay. We need to be able to remove you. That's the only way we can stop the incentive for people to come here in the first place. Lots of other European countries now agree with my approach. So that's what I'm going to do for you. Well, Lorraine, we are serious about tackling climate change, and rightly so. I have two young girls, and I want to make sure that we leave the environment in a better state than we found it. And you should be proud of our record. We have reduced emissions in our country faster than any other major economy, faster than Europe, faster than America, and that's our record. And our targets going forward are also ambitious and more than most countries. And that's why I decided to set out a different approach. This is not about getting to net zero. Of course we're going to do that. It's about how we do it. And I think we need to do that in a way that prioritises our country's energy security and your family finances. The Labour Party want to ban North Sea oil and gas. I don't think that's right. Even the experts say that we're going to need that energy in 2050. So my view is it's better to get it from here at home. That's good for our economy, good for jobs, and it's good for our energy security. And when it comes to your bills, I don't want to pursue net zero in an ideological fashion, because I don't think British families should alone solve a global problem. And that's why I made some changes. I have two young girls, so I spend a lot of my time making sure that we have a country, a society where my young girls can grow up and fulfill all their aspirations, and there's no limit to what they can achieve, and that they're properly supported. There's a few things that are really important to me. One is my girls' safety, which is why we're putting more police officers on the street. When they start walking around on their own, I want them to know that they're safe when they're walking around at night. When they get a job and they're starting out in their careers, I want to support them with childcare, which is why we're providing 30 hours of free childcare to every working family from the time their little one is 9 months old all the way up to when they start school. That's what you'll get with the Conservatives. I also want to make sure that when my girls grow up, or anyone else's children or grandchildren grow up, they can buy their own home, which is why we're going to abolish stamp duty for first-time buyers and introduce a new form of Help to Buy to get all young people on the housing ladder. And lastly, I believe really strongly in the safety and security of women's spaces and women's services. And I think we need to change the law, the Equalities Act, to make it clear that sex means biological sex. The most important thing I want for all of you is security, your financial security. I know people are frustrated with me, with my party. It's been a tough few years. We haven't got everything right, and I wish we'd made more progress in some years. But this isn't a by-election. There's a really serious choice in this election, which is going to have major consequences for you and your families. I have two young girls, and I would spend every spare second I had with them and our dog Nova, who's a 3-year-old fox red lab, which I'll be honest, I was not keen, but now obviously she is the love of my life that she's arrived. So I haven't seen as much of my family as I would have liked to over the past few years. They're very important to me. I think family is the most important thing to all of us, quite frankly. I'm really blessed with an amazing wife and 2 gorgeous daughters, and if there's a spare second I have, I would spend it with them and Nova, our dog. That's my favourite thing to do. I haven't had as much time to do that, and it's the thing about this job that is the hardest, in fact. It's not all the politics and everything else, it's not being able to be as good a dad or as good a husband as I would like to be, but if you gave me an extra half an hour free, that's how I'd spend it. Yeah, no, it has definitely taken some damage, but I think now it's dried out and it's okay. So thank you for your concern. I've been given a lot of umbrellas on this campaign train, I can tell you that.